Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel. On this video, I'm going to be walking you through my must-have lures when targeting spring Green Bay walleyes. Whether you're on the Bay or on the Fox River, all the way up to the Menominee River or Sturgeon Bay, these are my must-have lures. So anyways, I know there is countless variations of these lures, but these are my must-have at all times. The first must-have lure is the Rapala Rip and Wrap, size 6, Fire Your Tiger. This is a must-have when you're targeting spring Green Bay walleyes. It's big, it's flashy, it makes a lot of noise. Also, the bay is just loaded with perch, so this is a really desirable pattern. Although this is not the best lure during the early season when the water is really cold, or it's not always the best during midday where the fish are a little bit lethargic. But this lure has to be one of the best once pre-spawn starts. Walleyes just love smacking this. It's just super big and annoying. It's super good during that prime time hour right before dark, all the way through the night. You can catch fish all the way through pre-spawn, all the way to post-spawn, and fish just really don't like this thing. It's big, it's annoying, so at the middle of the spawn, it just gets in the fish's way and the fish will just swipe at it. Also, once post-spawn comes around, it's a big, easy meal, and that's when the walleyes really smash it. Moving on to another must-have lure. This lure is very similar to the Rapala Rip and Wrap. I highly recommend the Acme V-Rod Blade Bait. I've been really liking the Sun-E pattern. Just something about the white and chartreuse and orange makes the fish always just want to eat this thing. So it's very similar to a Rip and Wrap, but it's a little bit more finesse. It has a smaller profile, it's not as loud, but there's a lot of vibrations. This lure tends to work better throughout the day, but super effective throughout the night. But no matter what, this lure catches fish throughout the whole walleye season. Now moving on to something a little bit more situational, the Husky Jerk 12 and 14 and the Smithwick Perfect 10. The Fire Tiger and the Glass Minnow Husky Jerk has been really good to me. And for the Perfect 10, the Pink Lemonade and the Marvin color has been lights out. These are the best lures when you're trolling and when fish are surfacing, but they are the best when you're working areas like a dam where the water is super fast, it's not that deep, and there's a lot of rocks on the bottom. The design of these lures are big and loud, and they just dive to the perfect depth. When you're dealing with rocky conditions, they just stay right above the rocks and stay in the walleye strike zone. Also, one thing about these lures is that they suspend, so they don't necessarily sink to the bottom, nor do they float straight to the top. So you can work these lures really slow, and you can just pause it and leave that lure out there and the walleye will smash. This is probably my favorite bite out of all these lures. Now moving on from the big hard baits, one lure I highly recommend is the Purple Fly. You rig this up with the Wolf River rig with a 3-way swivel, 1 way to a bell sinker and 1 way to the fly. This lure is nice because you can work it really aggressively or you can finesse fish with it. But one thing I did find is that this lure is most productive during the early season as soon as the ice is gone. But one thing really nice about the fly is that you can just switch out the weight and not necessarily change the profile of the lure. And this is super effective when you're dealing with current or windy conditions. You can still feel your lure and stay in contact with the bottom and stay in the strike zone. Now another version of this is the hair jig. Purple again is my favorite color. Walleyes just love the action of the jig head and the bucktail. When you're working the bottom and doing quick snap, it just mimics a goby feeding. And the gobies are something the walleyes are all feeding heavily on. Although one thing I did find about the hair jig is that it's more effective during the daytime hour and that prime time hour, but once it gets dark out, it seems like the fish slow down on this lure. Now to take a step away from this, one must-have lure is the jig and plastic. The Chartreuse VMC Moon Eye jig with the Chartreuse Authentics ringworm is a killer combo. Honestly, one thing about this lure, it doesn't really matter on the condition. Whether the water is dirty or clear, or if it's cold or hot, or day and night, this lure seems to catch walleyes no matter what. There's just something about the profile and the way it moves when you're working that bottom. You could either do those big pops or just wiggle it down there and the walleyes just can't resist it. So if you're coming to Green Bay to target some spring walleyes, make sure you have these lures in your arsenal. Make sure you have the rip and wrap, the blade bait, the husky jerk, the P10, the fly, the hair jig, and the jigging plastic. If you have these in your tackle box, most likely you're going to be successful. You just got to find the fish and hope a big one bites. But anyways, if you do have any questions, please feel free to ask. But I hope this video helps prepare you to tackle some Green Bay walleyes. But anyways, if you guys haven't yet, please hit that like and subscribe button. And thank you all for watching.